There is an unending conversation going on throughout the universe, and a most meaningful one. Those from both your past and your future have a hand in your present world, and at this level the problems that have been met and will be encountered are being discussed. This is the heart of communication. It is most usually encountered either in a protected deep level of sleep or in a sudden spontaneous trance state. Great energy is generated. The information received in any of these states of consciousness must be interpreted for the normal waking consciousness if any physical memory is to be maintained. In many cases, memory remains unconscious as far as waking self is concerned, but the experiences themselves can completely change the structure of an individual life. Disastrous courses can be averted through such inner communication and illuminations, whether or not the ego is aware of them. The experiences at these various levels may be interpreted symbolically. They may appear in the form of fantasy, fiction, or artwork, without the conscious self realizing their origin. Now, at any of these various stages of consciousness, other phenomena may also be perceived. Thought forms, for example, energy manifestations, projections from the personal subconscious, and projections from the collective unconscious. Any or all of these may take symbolic form, and may appear beneficial or threatening, according to the attitude of the personality involved. They should be regarded as quite natural phenomena, often neutral in intent. Often they are insipid forms given activity by the personality who encounters them. The nature of their activity, therefore, will be projected outward from the personality into the relatively passive materialization. The person encountering these has only to turn his attention away to deactivate the phenomena. This does not mean that the phenomena is not real. Its nature is simply of a different kind and degree. It has some energy of its own, but needs additional energy from a perceiver for any interrelationship to take place. If such a materialization appears threatening, then simply wish it peace and withdraw your attention from it. It draws its main activating energy from your focusing, and according to the intensity and nature of your focus. You must not take the root assumptions of physical existence with you as you journey through these levels of consciousness. Divest yourself of as many of them as possible, for they can cause you to misinterpret your experiences. There are other layers of awareness beneath this one, but here there is a much greater tendency for one to merge into the other. In the next level, for example, communication is possible with various kinds of consciousness that have never been physically manifested, in your terms, personalities who do not have a physical reality in either your present or future, yet who are connected with your system of reality, both as guardians and custodians. Almost all experiences from this level will be symbolically represented, for otherwise they would have no meaning to you. The experiences will all have to do in one way or another with non-physical life, non-corporeal consciousness and forms, and the independence of consciousness from matter. These experiences will always be supportive. Out-of-body experiences will often be involved here, in which the projectionist finds himself in an unearthly environment or one of great beauty and grandeur. The stuff of the environment will have its origin in the mind of the projectionist, being symbolic of his ideal, for example, of life after death. A speaker or speakers will appear in whatever guise will be most susceptible to the projectionist, whether it be the guise of a god, an angel, or a disciple. This is the most characteristic kind of experience from this level. According to the abilities and understanding of the projectionist, however, more thorough messages can be given, and it may be quite obvious that the speakers are indeed only symbols of greater identities. Some will be able to understand the communications more clearly. The true nature of the non-physical speakers may then be made known. Deeper projections into that environment may then be possible. In this state, also great vistas of historic past and futures may be seen. All of these levels of consciousness are filled with the tapestry of various communications that can be followed through according to the purpose of the personality involved. Molecular structures send out their own messages, and unless you are tuned in to perceive them, they may be interpreted as static or meaningless noise. Any one of these levels of consciousness can be covered in a twinkling, and no notice taken of it. Or at least, theoretically, you could spend a lifetime exploring any given level. You may have several quite valid experiences in level 4, for example, without any awareness of the first 3. The stages are there for those who know what they are and how to use them. Many quite spontaneously find their own way. The other adjacent levels on the horizontal line now involve you in various alternate realities, each one at greater distance from your own. Many of these involve systems in which life and death as you know it does not occur, where time is felt as weight, systems in which the root assumptions are so different from your own that you would only accept any experience as fantasy. For this reason, you are much less apt to travel in those directions. In some, there are built-in impediments. Even projection from your universe into a universe of antimatter is most difficult. For example, the electromagnetic makeup even of your thoughts would be adversely affected. And yet, theoretically, this is possible from one of these adjacent levels of consciousness. Often you visit such areas of consciousness in the dream state, where you fall into them spontaneously, remembering in the morning a fantastic dream. Consciousness must use all its parts and activities, even as the body must. When you are sleeping, therefore, your consciousness turns itself in many of these directions, often perceiving willy-nilly bits and pieces of reality that are available to it at different stages. This often happens beneath your normal physical focus to some extent, even as you go about your waking activities. The alternate presence of which I spoke are not simply alternate methods of perceiving one's objective presence. There are many alternate presents, with you focused only in one of them. When you let your attention waver, however, you may often fall into a state in which you momentarily perceive glimpses of another alternate present. The whole self, the soul, knows of its reality in all such systems, and you as a part of it are working toward the same state of self-awareness and development. When you are proficient, you will not be swept nilly-willy into other stages of consciousness as you sleep, but will be able to understand and direct these activities. Consciousness is an attribute of the soul, a tool that can be turned in many directions. You are not your consciousness. It is something that belongs to you and to the soul. You are learning to use it. To the extent that you understand and utilize the various aspects of consciousness, you will learn to understand your own reality, and the conscious self will truly become conscious. You will be able to perceive physical reality because you want to, knowing it to be one of many realities. You will not be forced to perceive it alone out of ignorance. The various levels of consciousness discussed here may appear to be very divorced from ordinary waking ones. The divisions are quite arbitrary. These various stages all represent different attributes and directions inherent within your own self.